Hey, good morning, everybody. Tom Harness here with Harness Your Hump Day, provided by Harness Digital Marketing. I know you are probably tired of seeing me. Those of you that were on yesterday throughout Facebook might have seen that I was basically streaming Facebook Live nonstop for a good cause for the Give SI campaign, sponsored by Southern Illinois Community Foundation, WSIL News 3, the United Way, and Southern Illinois Healthcare. And we collectively raised over $125,000 for this region. We're going to have more of a breakdown on how much each individual campaign or nonprofit raised and how much each one got from that pot. But I am so excited. It was worth live streaming for 17 hours and being a part of a team of people dedicated and committed to making sure that nonprofits stay here in Southern Illinois, have the resources they need, and to make it a better place. What a great way to start off today. So yes, my energy level might be down a notch, but I'm hoping today's guest will take it up a notch, and I'm really excited to talk about social media versus photography today. Before we get started with our amazing guest, I lost my notes here real quick. I just wanted to go over a couple of things. Remember that every Monday is Marketing Makeup Monday with our very own Crystal Davis. So if you are looking for marketing and makeup tips, please watch that. You can go to the playlist, look at past episodes. She is amazing. She is, she is beautiful. I mean, who wants to take beauty tips and branding tips from someone like me? So Crystal does an amazing job. And also, you guys know my passion for veterans. We have partnered with Withers Broadcasting and Dana Communications to provide the Stars and Stripes SI Facebook group. This page is dedicated to veterans, veteran organizations, veterans, business owners, veterans that are looking for jobs, and just anybody that wants to support the veterans throughout Southern Illinois. How many times can you say veterans? I don't know. It's never enough. So real quick, I want to say good morning to Jason Powell. Thank you, sir, for your support yesterday and all that you do in our community. And Diane, good morning. Thank you for joining us. All right. So enough about me, and I'm tired of talking, to be honest, with 17 hours. So I want to talk a little bit about our next guest, Caleb Hale, amazing photographer, just a really cool person. We connected through social media. I mean, not everybody that you meet through social media is bad. This guy, great photographer. We want to talk today about social media versus photography, and kind of, that question that now that everybody has one of these, are they a professional photographer? That's one of the things that everybody is asking and wanting to know, and we all have our own ideas, but today we're going to talk about that with Caleb. And let me real quick, I didn't do this already this morning. I didn't turn off my notifications, and we don't want to hear all those go out through the show. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Caleb in here on the left. Well, I think it's my left side. Hey, Caleb. Good morning, sir.
Hello.
So
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thank you for being on the show. Now I want to let you know something. You're following up after Santa Claus, so you have big shoes to fill.
I know. I know. I'm following up after Santa Claus, and you said you wanted someone to take it up a notch and be higher key. Both two things are not me. So
Well,
sorry. I'll try and keep the momentum going, but I am not Santa Claus, nor am I known to be high key. So
you're fine. Like I said, we met through social media and through photography. And when I reached out and put the message out for anybody that would be interesting to be on the show and talk, you jumped on it, and I'm completely grateful of that. I kind of want to give everybody a background. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into photography.
all right. It kind of started after photography has been part of my workflow for a couple of decades now. Many people probably would remember, I was a reporter and editor with the Southern Illinoisan for about 12 years before I moved over and moved over to SIU with the Alumni Association and actually started doing the alumni magazine eventually through that. So a lot of the photography stuff that I did early on was pretty much just you know how budgets are with newspapers and pretty much any editorial operation these days. You kind of have to be multitask. So that's kind of where that skill picked up. It wasn't until maybe a couple years, well, probably about 3 or 4 years ago at this point, that I, after kind of putting down camera, journalism, anything that had to do with what I had previously done, I kind of put that aside for the fun part and didn't pick it up again until probably about 2016 with any sort of intention on doing anything serious with it. So it kind of started out like everyone else. I had, with me at the time, I had my phone that I kind of snap pictures of and use. I kind of, like everyone else, started an Instagram account to just kind of post it, have a place for it to be stored. And from there kind of, I went through that first round of buying, wanted kind of to choose what kind of camera I wanted. So I kind of had went through that um, YouTube slog of researching every sort of camera you could possibly imagine, just kind of getting that crippling sense of choice that you have on everything. I eventually I picked up what I was going to use. From that point on, it just kind of became a decision on where I wanted to focus with it. And one of the things that kind of intrigued me from the beginning was portrait photography, because it kind of scratched that itch that I wasn't necessarily getting from being out of journalism anymore, of getting to meet new people, talk to them, kind of work with them on something and kind of share their stories. So that's kind of where it started from there. And I'll leave it off for there for the moment and let you ask me your next question.
So, you know, you can come at this from so many different angles with your history and your experience of being in newspaper and photography. And then now with the alumni and telling stories and obviously photography. So what I'm really interested in hearing is over this last, I guess 10, 15 years, tell me a little bit about what you've seen with photography and maybe in newspaper, and how social media and this thing right here has affected that industry.
Right. Well, I can tell you one thing. When I started in newspapers, I wasn't a photographer myself back then. I was a reporter, but I can tell you from just being around it, we still had a dark room there in the newsroom. We still had, rolls of film around, scanners, that kind of stuff. And I mean, this wasn't a long time ago, if you think about it. This was still early 2000s. And, the switch to digital photography as a medium is very, very young at this point. Digital cameras were, even your professional digital cameras back then were probably these, 3 and 4 megapixel behemoths still, that pretty much uh, took everything you can to operate them. And obviously, what has happened since then, everything's moved completely to digital. If you shoot film nowadays, you're just doing it for the fun of it and for the art of working with it. Um, but now, everything is so everything's digital and everything's much smaller. You don't even need a camera necessarily. You don't need a dedicated camera anymore to make good images. You need them. Um, and that's opened up a lot of opportunities. You asked the question: is everyone a professional photographer now that they have a phone? I don't know. If you can make money with any photo that you've taken, to some degree, you could say you've done some professional photography. Um, but I mean, it's opened up the possibility that everyone is a photographer, or that everyone can have some access to create images, edit them, really put their stamp on them the way they want to. So that's in some ways, yeah, that's democratized the whole process of it. And with the rise of social media, particularly when you're talking about photography, Instagram. I mean, obviously, you've seen what's happened there. Everyone looks like a photographer. Not everyone is. And I mean, some people who, they do it for fun. Some people are really out there trying to push it, doing it to make a living. Um, Overall, it's hard to kind of do all that stuff because the market is so saturated with so many images nowadays. Just think about with the internet how many images are uploaded per day on here.
I
It's
don't want
not a
to.
hand.
I can't imagine it.
No, it's not a handful of people who are making and producing these images. They're coming in from everywhere, dependent upon the honesty and the practices of the people using the images. They're grabbing them from everywhere. You really don't know where they're coming from. And in all honesty, you don't. Photography isn't a good thing to get into if you necessarily want everyone to know the image or the face behind the image is you. Because number one, if your image is good enough, that's going to take center stage over everything. And number two, it's really not your face that's going to sell anything for it. It's your skill, it's your creativity, and it's your basically your artistic eye.
So, when we're talking about social media, what platforms do you like, and which ones have you seen? I guess what we'll call what you consider success with, or have you?
I would say the one I have success with would be Instagram, but I think it's important that you kind of define what that success is, and that's kind of the first thing I when people ask me about social media, I take them through a little bit of a therapy session. Um, Most of the time, when people talk about social media, they're really aimed at, oh, I got to collect this massive following to make any impact at all. And I mean, to some degree, yeah, you're going to have more of a following. The more of a following you have, obviously, that bigger impact you can possibly have. But I tell people that you don't have to have that large following necessarily
Right.
to make that impact. You could say 50,000 followers on something, you're not going to be able to make that connection with people as much as, say, if you have more around 2,500 followers, something that's easier to manage. Plus, the smaller your following is, the more you've cultivated it to get it, the chances are they're a little bit more of an engaged audience for what you do. And that's what's important. It's not really about, I need to get as much attention on these images or what I do or what I sell for as much as possible. What you need to focus on, um, what's your goal outside of getting followers and likes on social media? Because if that's the goal, you're constantly going to be in this shame spiral. As some posts are going to do fine, others aren't going to do fine, um, and you're just going to kind of put yourself into a depression doing it. My goal with social media really is to kind of further um, my creative endeavors. So basically, it's about collaboration. It's about finding the right clients for what I do, because largely what I do with my work is a lot of black and white um, studio photography work. It's not for everyone. It's not what everyone wants. It's not what everyone needs at any point in time. But what I do with it is stay consistent, um, keep putting it out there. And when the time is right, when the client is right, or when a particular person who wants to collaborate on something says, hey, I'd like to do something, then, I generate a new project. I generate, a little bit of income. It's, it, it's not something I do to kind of just um, go after it saying, I got to make all this money, I got to have all this following, I got to be famous. It's basically, it just kind of feeds the creative urge, really. That's what I use social media for. And that's why I find it rewarding, kind of in the end.
I've told you this before and online. I think in this area, I'm not a photography snob or expert, but you have literally the best black and white photography that I've seen. The angles, the shading, the lighting, the way you capture the images that you do are absolutely amazing. That's one of my favorite things about your photography is the black and white, and I think that you're probably the closest that I've seen to doing it digital, where most of the black and whites that I've seen that I've liked have been old school. They've been, in a
Mm-hmm.
a dark room, and they've been it's just real photography. But I absolutely love what you've done. And you mentioned the word consistency. Yes, you're consistent because that's now what I know you for, and I think that's great. And if someone is looking for that, I know right off the top of the bat who to send them to.
Right. And that's the thing you got to kind of stick to. When I started this, everyone who gets their first DSLR camera, someone they if you get good enough, if you enjoy it enough, what you tend to start doing is you're going to start a Facebook page, put photography behind your name, and you're going to start offering family mini sessions, kid shoots, things like that. And you know, I wouldn't say I never actually contemplated that. I got asked to do it a couple times. I did one. It wasn't my style to say that. You got to kind of love what you're doing, and you got to be able to do it to essentially uh, want to keep doing it. So that's where I kind of abandoned it, and I said, I'm going to work in a studio environment. I'm going to focus on, basically getting these simple lighting, getting these types of shots for people, and I'm going to kind of build a brand on that. Or it's not even about I'm going to kind of build a brand on that. It's basically just that's the style that kind of evolved out of me. And for anyone looking on the outside, you consider, oh well, that's just what he does. That's his brand. So you got to be willing to tell people no sometimes as well. I've had people come to me and say, they see what I do, and then they say, well, I really like this. I really would like this light, airy, feel to my or to my photos, or I'd like this. And I'd say, and I got to be honest with them and just say, I'm probably not the person you want because I work in this space. These are the kind of results you're going to get from that. If you're looking to spend some money on a photo session, don't do it with me because you're not going to find the results that you want in this particular set. So, but another client, whatever they want, or another client might want that kind of thing, then I can help them along with that. And by the way, I just want to kind of give a plug. The space that I do work out of is the Anna Arts Center, which, if you have a local arts center in your community, treasure it, support it, cherish it, because an important key aspect to how I'm able to work and how a lot of people are able to kind of practice the arts.
You know, you mentioned something in one of your previous comments about social media and following and what you measure success at. I always try to tell people, think of your just normal 24-hour day. How many people do you interact with just on a normal day? Think about that. And it might be anywhere from, 3 people to maybe 15 if they work or they're at a kind of a corporate office. And I said, think about social media. What other platform do you get to be in front of 25, 50, 100, and we'll use your number 50,000? So when you were talking about that number, I'm like, we don't get the opportunity to connect. And I think anything over 25 is probably pretty good. But I think a lot of people are seeing, 100, 300, maybe 1,000. How many people get the opportunity to get in front of 1,000 people a day? And when you put it in that perspective, I think people understand then it's not about the I have 1 million followers and I have 50,000. It's really about what you were saying is that there's a kind of like this magic number of where you are too big and you can't connect and you have this nice little cushion here. And I think that number is different for everybody. But I mean, how many people can you
Right.
interact with in a day?
Depends upon the mood I'm in, but I mean, it could anywhere from a couple people to a couple dozen in person. And then when you talk about doing it online, there's more. It's every week we've reached out from some people who come as far away from. I've shot with people who have come from far away as Indianapolis. Definitely, I pull a lot from the St. Louis area. You know, People largely they're people who are into the either trying or established a little bit in the modeling industry and just trying to build up their portfolios. And they like what they see out of my black and white images. So they say, hey, what'll it take to come down and set up a session? And so that's the kind of work that's kind of that thing that makes it rewarding, right? It's not posting something the day and day and then seeing that you're getting hundreds of likes on there, because I don't, a like on a photo or something that you posted, that's difficult to kind of translate as to what that actually means. I mean, someone could be sitting there scrolling on the phone, double tap something because they really like it, or they could have accidentally received a little electric shock to their wrist and it jolted their thumb a little bit. And you don't know what that is. Yeah. You don't know what that actually means because it doesn't translate very well. I've had people who've contacted me saying, I love what you do. I've never seen them interact or post a like or comment or anything on anything I've posted before. But you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's paying attention. So don't assume that just because your post has 10 likes on something and no comments that it didn't plant a seed somewhere in someone's mind. And sometimes those seeds take a while to grow. So that's why the consistency is out there. You just have to kind of keep tending your farm, tending what you do daily, or at least on a regular basis, and see what comes of it in the end.
So as we wrap up, 20 minutes goes by pretty fast, but as we wrap up, what are some final thoughts that you have for people on social media versus photography? What are some final thoughts and observations that you've had or you've learned over the years?
I would say sincere about what you want to shoot. I don't, everyone's different and everyone has a unique eye with the camera. So you can have your inspirations, and definitely I have mine, and where I pull my inspirations from for what I do. But don't try to replicate and be exactly like what you see. Develop your own voice, and if you want to put it out there, put it out there. If you don't necessarily feel compelled, because there's this habit to thinking that just because you are a photographer you have to have this social media presence. You don't necessarily have to, and some of the best photographers I know have very little of a social media presence out there. And then some of the photographers you see with these large following and a big presence, they're not really doing all that much photography work specifically to post to social media and kind of generate that attention that they want. So I mean, find your eye and do what kind of speaks to you in that realm. And don't, if you want to put it out there on social media, do. If not, you don't necessarily have to feel compelled to, because it's not a rule once you are a photographer that you actually have to have a social media presence either. Just remember that.
All right, great words of wisdom from Caleb Hale, and I'm gonna go online and get the links for your Instagram, and I'm gonna try to put them in the comments and add them after this. So please give Caleb a follow on Instagram. You will absolutely enjoy his photography, and if you want his services, and you guys are a good fit, maybe it'll happen. And if not, I bet you Caleb knows someone that he can hook you up with. But you got to give him a shout. Got to give him a try and see if it's a good fit for you. And Caleb, again, thank you, sir, so much for being on Harness Your Hump Day and giving us some insight into your experience with photography.
Thank you.
I'll see you later. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's Harness Your Hump Day. If you did and you liked and found value in this, please go on our Facebook and Google Plus page, or Google Plus, there's no Google Plus, our Google business page, and leave us a review and let us know what you think. And as always, if our business, our team here at Harness Digital Marketing can help your business or organization hashtag turn the light bulb on, please reach out to us and let us know how we can best serve you and your digital marketing needs. So go out into the world today, be the reason someone smiles, and I hope that you all have a blessed day. Peace be with all of you.